Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and all of the neutrals have been revealed, and we got some crazy stuff, including a neutral Graybow. Graybow for everybody. We'll go over all the cards, and well, we'll know all the neutrals, all the Death Knights, and then I guess the other classes. We'll get going, not tomorrow, but the day after. We get 1 day off of card reveals, and well, you'll get 1 day off of me reminding you that we have a giveaway going on where I'm giving away 2 mega bundles, 2 regular pre-orders out of my pocket. All you have to do is like and comment on the video in the description below, subscribe to the channel. Every 1,000 subs we get until all the cards are out, I add another mega bundle, you know, all that stuff. Anyways, let's take a look at the cards because there's quite a lot of them and there's some interesting potential with quite a few of them, to say the least. So starting off, we have Banshee, which is a 1 mana 2/1 undead minion. Death Rattle. Give a random friendly undead +2/+1. So it gives its stats up, and it's got like the little O. Got the O, the emoji, you know, goes pretty well with the artwork. I guess you want to play this in, like, I don't know, maybe Unholy Death Knight, where you have minions on the board quite often and they're undead most of the time. And then, yeah, you get a lot of stats. Like, this is a 1 mana 4/2 at the end of the day. If its stats actually connect and you're playing it on 1, it's just like, you know, you gotta get the value. And these cards, typically, the cards that have like Death Rattle, give another minion stats, rarely pan out. There's very rare. They have to be very consistent and reliable. And I feel even this card, it's got a shot, I think, only in like Unholy Death Knight, really. And I still think it's probably a stretch. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5 in Standard. In Wild, I don't see it, but if any class can make it work, it'll be Death Knight, I would think, because where else are you really going to reliably have undead sticking around to get hit with that? We have the Umbral Geist, another undead. You could hit it with this, but it's not really a good idea because it's a 2 mana 3/1. However, is Death Rattle, add a random shadow spell to your hand, and all I can think of is deck intro time, because I think this is like a card you're playing to probably meme around in Warlock, try and get some, like, the Scourge or Scourge. I never know how to say it properly. Like the big 9 mana legendary spell for Death Knight, and get it into Warlock and then somehow copy it up with like a Tamsin. Mark will have to like get some lucky shadow spell with Tamsin at some time, make it 0, do something crazy. It's a bit of value. You can get shadow spells from other classes, so you know, you can break the rules that way, like I mentioned with Tamsin, but again, probably not really going to be a meta card. Again, not terrible, but probably not meta. I will give it a 2 out of 5 in Standard and Wild. Good pick in Arena, though, because overall spells are, you know, they're harder to come by, and you'll want to take that for some value. We have the Foul Egg, a 1 mana. Where's the, oh my god, the token's not showing here. Oh my god, I'm very upset. It's the Foul Egg. It's 1 mana 0/2 Death Rattle. Summon an undead chicken. Hold on, I'm going to refresh this because this token needs to be seen. We'll see if it pops up this way. It does not. It's a shame. It is called the Foul. It's called Foul. It's so awesome. Yeah, so you get, it's Nerubian Egg for 1 mana cheaper and 1/+1/+1 less. It's a really good card. This is an undead, which is very relevant. I mean, just for that prior 1-drop we saw, can buff this. And the chicken itself is undead and a beast. And it's a 3/3. This is just a really solid egg card. Eggs have historically seen play a lot. A Nerubian Egg, Devilsaur Egg, and this is the cheapest, probably most powerful one ever, right? 1 mana, get a 3/3. You can Abusive Sergeant, a Dire Wolf, whatever you want to do, buff it up. I think Death Knight runs this, especially Unholy Death Knight. They're buffing their stuff. They want stuff to stick around. It can go into like an aggro druid, possibly. Anything that consistently buffs the board. Why are you not playing a 1 mana 3/3 or a 1 mana 1/3 to go with it when it gets buffed? I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 in Standard, 3 out of 5 in Wild, because those decks exist. It's one of the best eggs we've seen. It is dirt cheap, and check it out. Okay, I had to find the art. It's Foul Undead Beast. Good job on the wordplay there, Blizzard. Anyways, next minion, we have the Flesh Behemoth, a 9 mana 8 rare taunt, Death Rattle. Draw another undead and summon a copy of it. So this draws it specifically out of your deck. You can get that legendary, the 6/6 that, you know, the timer is on. You're dead in 3 turns. Still can't believe that's a real card. That is actually a real card. Anyways, yeah, so you draw it, you get it in your hand, and then you summon a copy of it that can get itself too. You can draw this, get a copy of it and all that, but it is a death rattle. It's a one-time effect. It's a 9-mana 4/8 taunt. I mean, there's got to be some like crazy shenanigans they're thinking of drawing wise with it, and we haven't seen all the undeads yet. But even if you're cheating out the death rattle that, you know, you get the 0 cost, it's just like, it's 9 mana, and it's so weak. I gotta give, I feel like this is a 1 in Standard and Wild. I really do, but I don't know, Big Priest? Is there Big Priest shenanigans with this? You know, you get this with like Shadow Essence, and then they draw out the other thing from their deck, and I guess, but like, it's just a 4/8 taunt for 9 mana. They're very, like, it's horribly understated, right? So they're very much valuing this death rattle is very powerful. I just don't see it, but let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'm totally missing out on something super impactful. I just think it's kind of bad. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1 in Standard and Wild. Here we have neutral Graybow, the Infectious Ghoul, toxic looking card. Is it after me? It's a 5-mana 5/4 undead. So this is an undead you could cheat out. A death rattle. Give a random friendly minion death rattle, summon an Infectious Ghoul. So just like Graybow, it just will keep resummoning as long as there's stuff to attach. The problem is, think about Graybow, how like nutty that card can be. Not really meta. It was only really meta when you could cheat it out with like Razormane, and then that got nerfed and just fell out of favor. That is taunt. Like, that's a big deal. It is taunt, so like when it attaches and it dies, you gotta kill it to get through it. Like, this is just a 5/4 you can ignore. And I've known from experience with the Graybow card, when I face it, you know, you try and ignore it as much as possible, and this is pretty easy to ignore. But it can go into any deck. It's not just Druid. So maybe an Unholy Death Knight can utilize this. That's probably the place I would see it, but maybe other certain aggro decks. But 5-mana 5/4 in like an aggro mid-range deck that doesn't impact the board, doesn't buff the board, and honestly doesn't really snowball that hard because it's just a 5/4. I'm gonna give it a 2. I don't think it's terrible. I think it has some validity to it, but I don't think it's gonna be a meta player in Standard or Wild. So I'm gonna give it a 2 in Standard and Wild. But yeah, I just, not quite the Graybow, but it really shouldn't be. It's a class card, it's a rare, or sorry, it's a neutral card and a rare, and like, are we really gonna power creep a card that's already in Standard that hard? So yeah, not quite. We have the Brittle Skin Zombie, yet all these undeads today. 3-mana 4/3 death rattle. If it's your opponent's turn, deal 3 damage to them. We saw these cards in like these like Vrygul cards. They were like these weird cards where if they died on your opponent's turn, they would summon stuff. They gave you like 2/2s, or I think there was like a skeletal 5-mana 2/2 to give you an 8/8. I've also seen it like Mountain Fire Armor. I can't remember exactly what it's called. It was a warrior 3-drop death rattle. It would gain armor if it died on your opponent's turn. This is a little bit better than that in regards to like you ignore it. They're just going to hit you in the face with it. But typically these cards just aren't really worth running. Again, maybe I got to think Unholy Death Knight, because they are spamming the board. They want undeads. They want to push face damage. And this is a card, you're spamming the board. If they ignore it, they're going to buff it up. That could be really problematic. And if they do, you know, they don't ignore it, they're taking 3 damage to the face. So I might have some validity only really in that deck. I just don't think I want to give it a 3. Again, I think I want to give it a 2, that it's not quite that playable level, but this one might surprise me because it could be just that annoying that, like, yeah, it's an aggressively statted minion. It's really kind of hard to ignore. You know what? I've taught myself into it in terms of a purely like aggro Unholy Death Knight card. I will give it a 3 out of 5 in Standard, 2 out of 5 in Wild, because I feel like in Wild it probably doesn't make the cut even in there. But you know what? I've convinced myself to overrate this, so we'll go with that. And then we have the Shatter Skin Gargoyle, a 6-mana 4/6 undead taunt. Death rattle, deal 4 damage to a random enemy. This is what I wish a mindset. This is what I wish the mindset. So you're paying 6 mana or 4 mana more for like a 0/2 mine. You get a taunt, which is decent, and it deals 4 damage to a random enemy. So, you know, it can go face, it can help with the board. It's very slow and not very reliable. And when it's going to hit, it is an undead. It's got that going for it. But overall, this is like a pretty good arena pick, really annoying arena pick. Yeah, it's a good arena card. Ladder, I would be absolutely monumentally shocked if this ever sees any meta play. I gotta give it a 1 in standard and wild, but I think it's a pretty much like an auto pick in arena a lot of the times. Next, we have Arms Dealer, a 1 mana 1/2 undead. After you summon an undead, give it +1 attack. So this, unlike the 3-drop where it's like after you play a minion, this is after you summon. So this works with, let's say, the Death Knight hero power. You will have a 2/1. Or if you're playing the Baku variant, which is already a 2/1, you get a 3/1 that dies at the end of turn. Not bad, not great. I mean, it's a snowball thing that every time you play a minion, you get an extra attack. It's just the initial body's not amazing, and the +1 attack, I don't know if it's good enough. But again, I feel like a lot of these cards, like, is it going to be an unholy Death Knight card or not? And I feel like maybe you really want those 1-drops, and you want that snowball ability, and it just goes with all, like, your summoning spells and all of that. It's got a shot, but it does feel a little bit underwhelming. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 in standard and wild, but look out. This is another one where it definitely could pop up in Death Knight. We have the Incorporeal, or Incorporeal? Corporal? What are these words? It's a 2 mana 5/5 undead. That's right, a 2 mana 5/5. That is the largest 2-drop ever in Hearthstone history that I'm aware of. Bibliomite's a 5/4, Millhouse is a 4/4, there's 2/6 taunts, but this is 10 stats. Well, what's the downside? After this minion attacks, destroy it. So you get to attack 1 time with this, and then it dies. However, you silence it, it can stick around, and, well, you know, you got Wig Priest, Silence Priest, those type of decks. Maybe they utilize this, or maybe you just play this in a really aggressive deck and you just push 5 damage face. I don't know about that, but I don't really want to scoff at a 2 mana 5/5 that has potential upside if you silence it or whatever you do with it. I think this could see play in those style of decks, and I'm not willing to write it off. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 in standard, a 3 out of 5 in wild, where there's a lot of good silence effects, and it's got a shot. It's a scary card. And it's an undead too. And there is also the synergy of, there's a lot of Death Knight cards that like synergize with an undead dying, right? The prior turn or whatever. Maybe that's what you're going with. I don't know. But I do think it could see play, despite the fact it does blow up when it attacks unless silenced. We have the Drakari Embalmer, yet another 3 mana 3/4. I gotta do my tally. I did it before this expansion of which is more right now, Team Rivercroc or Team Spider Tank. Are there more 2/3s or 3/4s? Before the set, it was Spider Tanks by like 1 or 2. I feel like it's still Spider Tank. Anyways, Battle Cry, give a friendly undead reborn, and I mean, it's fine. It's got to go on to an undead. That's probably making this a Death Knight card again, because Death Knight's the class that's really looking like it's going to utilize undeads, and I don't know, just feels like a pack filler type card to me, to be honest. I mean, it fuels your corpses a little bit. Getting that undead, you can get charges, it can be sticky. It's just like, I feel like there's already better stuff that they can do. It's got a shot again. I don't think it's a bad card, but I feel like there's probably going to be better stuff. So I'm going to give it 2 out of 5 in standard and wild. We have the tenacious Sandlane. The words on these cards are getting way too hard for this old man. 5 mana, 4/6 lifesteal minion. Whenever this attacks, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. So this is a very slow, aggressive / healing style of card. I have no idea what you're doing with this. You're probably randomly summoning it off the Scourge that you randomly generated as a rogue and cheated out with a Jakarian chant, whatever that card is called, the Trickster, the Swift Scale Trickster, is that what it's called? Jakarian Chanter's end of turn. It's not even remotely the same, but yeah, I feel like you're not playing this card in a deck. It's not like terrible, but it doesn't have rush, doesn't have taunt. Yeah, you get extra lifesteal on that damage to the hero if you get to attack. But other than that, it's just a 4/6 that doesn't do anything. for 5 mana, I just can't see that being a relevant card in today's Hearthstone. I am going to give it a 1 in Standard Wild. I just don't think you're playing this in your deck like ever. I can't see it. We have the Nerubian Vizier, a 3 mana 2/4 undead. Speaking of having undeads die the prior turn, Battlecry, discover a spell. If a friendly undead died after your last turn, it costs 2 less. So you always get the spell. That's good. And we've seen that in like Venomous Scorpid, Vulpera Scoundrel. Those cards have seen play historically, although Scorpid has trumped pretty much all the other ones right now because, well, it's toxic. It's poisonous. Like this guy. I'd kill, well, I don't kill people, but it can kill things, right? Oh God, I'm gonna get demonetized very quickly. But regardless, yeah, if you're playing a lot of undeads, you get mana cheat, and I feel like the Death Knight spell pool is gonna be so good that I think you probably play this for value. Death Knight's lacking on cards that generate value, and I could see this popping up into who knows what Death Knight class. It doesn't require any runes. You can play it with whatever. I see this as a Death Knight card for the most part. Maybe a pre-stack runs it if they want to run undeads and stuff like that. But I will give this a 3 out of 5 Standard Wild just for Death Knight. I don't see other classes really running it, but just getting the spell alone is fine. And getting mana cheat on top of it, well, that's just really good. So definitely think that we'll see play in Death Knight. We have the Vrikul Necrolite. Whatever, 2 mana 2/2 Battlecry, give a friendly minion, so not undead, it's any minion, Death Rattle, summon a 2/2 zombie with rush. It's effectively a 2 mana 4/4 delayed effect with a bit of a rush. And yeah, it's an arena card, pretty good arena card. Maybe again, Unholy Death Knight might want to run it because I feel like they want to stick a board, and it's just sticky stats. So again, possible card there. It's again, I kind of want to give it a 3 as like playable there. You know what? I will give it a 3. They're gonna have 1-drops. They're gonna have sticky stuff, and this just slaps on there. But it's not an immediate buff. I don't know. You know what? I've already taught myself down to a 2 on it. But again, it could totally be playable. It's fringe to me. It's borderline. But again, pretty much in Death Knight, and maybe like a hunter deck, an aggro hunter, and aggro druid could use this too. Because again, it doesn't really matter that it's undead for this. So there's potential in other classes. All right, I went from 3 to 2. Let's go to 3. We're gonna go with our very conservative 3 that we've given all review season anyways. And lastly, we have the Plague Spreader, a 4 mana 4/4 undead epic. Death Rattle, transform a random minion in your opponent's hand into a Plague Spreader, and then they can play the Plague Spreader, and then it can happen to you, and then you can play that again, and it can happen to them. Really weird. It's like a disruption, I guess. Really kind of bad disruption. This is going to be a troll evolve card, a troll random generated card. They went really troll with the epics, I feel like, for the most part this expansion so far, and this fits the bill. I don't think this is going to see meta play. I think it's actually quite terrible. Even as a disruption card, there's a lot better. There's so much disruption these days that a Plague Spreader is a really funky and awkward way of doing it. But it's also kind of pretty funny and troll. I'm going to give it a 1 in Standard and Wild. I'm not even going to be generous and give it a 2, but my goodness, this will lead to highlights, I can assure you. And let's double check that the subreddit has no new uploads. It looks like not. So that is all the neutrals revealed. All the neutrals, all the Death Knight cards are revealed. New class cards will start to be revealed on Monday. They're taking a day off for card reveals on Sunday, so we'll figure something else out to talk about tomorrow. But yeah, that's been a lot of cards. Hope you guys have been enjoying it. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.